What is happening, people? It is Brian Alsruhe with NEVERsate.com, and as promised in yesterday's video, I'm back today to show you guys what I personally use for mobility and flexibility to get into and develop my front rack position, because the front rack position is super useful in virtually any strength sport, but especially when we talk about things like a front squat or a power clean or an overhead press involving leg drive. So basically what I'm gonna do here is just walk you guys through a bunch of stretches that I personally do that have helped me, and hopefully they will help you. Okay, so jumping right into it, I start virtually every single workout with what I like to call Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu jumping jacks. So they're not like traditional jumping jacks where your legs spray out to the side and your arms go above your head. These ones you kind of bounce the same way that you would in any combat sport, but your arms, I kind of swing them from side to side as well as out in front of me. And it's just trying to warm up my lats and my shoulders and my elbows, as well as my ankles and my knees, and virtually anything that pops and cracks. Now I will do this for 30 seconds to a minute, or virtually until I get bored of doing it. Now, once I'm done that, I will find some sort of pull-up bar and I will simply hang from it in the chin-up position. Now, I choose the chin-up position so that my hands are supinated and my arm is being externally rotated, because that is what you're gonna be doing in the front rack position. So the sooner that you can start doing that, the better. Now, I will choose different grips, whether it be a wide grip or a close grip or whatever, but I also don't like to waste time. So I might hang there for maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then I will drop immediately to the floor and kind of superset my warm up here by working on my wrists. Now to do that, I simply find a line on the floor and I kneel down next to it so that I can take my hands and turn them backwards so that the heel of my hand lines up as close to that line as possible. Once I am there, I try to sit back on my feet a little bit. Now you need to be careful here because this is extremely painful. Now, you can of course adjust, and now as I get a little bit more loosened up, I will try to turn my wrists further and further backwards, and then just sit back into it. Again, this will last for maybe 15 to 30 seconds or as long as my little baby wrist can handle it. Now, I'll most likely vacillate between those two for maybe 2 or 3 rounds, or as long as it takes till I feel good. The next drills that I do will require a piece of PVC or a broomstick or just anything that looks similar to this. Now, the first stretch that I do with this, I personally call the Nunchuck stretch, because it's just like a move you do with the nunchucks. You hold the pole straight out in front of you and then you basically throw it backwards over the same shoulder. You catch it with the opposite hand and then you crank on your elbow, just like you're giving yourself a Kimura in Jiu-Jitsu. Now for the second part of this stretching superset, all you're gonna do is hold that PVC underneath your chin the same way that you would if you were going to perform a strict press. Now from here, all I'm going to do is rotate my elbows as far forward as I can, like I'm pointing them towards the horizon, and then I'm gonna rotate them behind me as far as I can, like I'm pointing them towards the horizon. And I'm gonna go back and forth, really trying to crank the shoulders into position. And again, I might do this for 15 to 30 seconds before I go back to the nunchuck stretch for 15 to 30 seconds each arm. Now, I'll probably do this maybe 2, maybe 3 rounds, again, depending how I feel, but once I'm loose and I move on. From there, I move on to my next superset, which involves a band. So you're gonna have to tie it off on a rack or something else that is not going to move. Now, personally, when I'm doing any sort of stretching with bands, I like to use the band itself to hold on to my body rather than my body holding onto the band, because I feel that I can stretch better if my hand is not closed tightly around something. So I just open the loop of the band, punch my hand through and wrap, and it stays there pretty well. Now, once you do have your hand locked in, all you're gonna do is turn around and point your elbow in the opposite direction and start taking steps that way. Now, it's gonna quickly get tight and you're gonna feel a stretch everywhere from your tricep to your lat, and it's going to want to pull your elbow out to the side, but you need to combat that. You wanna keep your elbow pointing straight forward, and I personally like to keep the same foot with the same elbow on the same side when I'm stretching. I'll hold that position for 15 to 30 seconds, and then I will stretch out the same side lat. So I'll literally just spin my body around and unravel, and then I will lean back so that I get a lot of stress on my lat. Now, I'm actually trying to relax my entire shoulder system. Everything involved with that band that is pulling on, I'm trying to completely relax and really let my lat just release and lengthen. An important note here, if you do not have access to bands, but you do have 2 barbells, or you just wanna try this on your own, we can closely mimic that kind of turnaround elbow pointy stretch by doing this here. So the idea is that you have one of your barbells set up in your normal front squat position, and the other barbell you place behind your head with your hands relatively close together. Now, you place your triceps on top of your front squat barbell with your elbows pretty close together, and then you just let that barbell drift behind your head. If you let it roll out into your fingers, you'll be really shocked at how much of a stretch even 45 pounds can give you, but you can always add a little bit of more weight to give you a little bit more resistance. Again, just be careful. And then finally, here are two methods that I don't personally use, but you guys may find helpful. The first of which I'm affectionately gonna call the step in the band and crank yourself down method, because that's all that you do. You just simply put your foot in one end of the band and the other one has your hand in the front rack position and you crank yourself down. Now I will say you need to be careful with the tension of band that you use because this can get intense pretty fast. If you go too heavy, you could very well hurt yourself, so be careful. And then the second method is just simply strapping yourself to the bar. So the idea here is that you slap some weight on the bar and then you put your hands where you would normally put them for the front rack position and you strap yourself to it. Now, you slowly and surely just continually work yourself and crank yourself and hurt yourself into position until you get there. Now, I'm not saying you should do this quickly. I'm not saying that this shouldn't happen over the course of a long time, but strapping yourself to the bar and then slowly working your way underneath of it absolutely has worked for a lot of individuals out there. I'm not saying it's smart. I'm just saying I've seen it work. Anyway, guys, there are some of the mobility and flexibility drills that I personally use to get into and help develop my front rack position, which has been great for developing my front squat, which has helped my strongman game and has done a ton for my overhead press game. So I would highly encourage that even if you guys aren't involved in CrossFit or Olympic weightlifting or strongman or really any type of strength sport, it's never a bad thing to have a more flexible upper body as well as more flexible shoulders and wrists and elbows for longevity in the sport, as well as just not hurting yourself. Training without pain is always more fun, and hopefully these drills will help some of you get into the front rack position for the first time. So I thank you guys so much for your attention, for hanging out, for staying along, for supporting, for buying programs, for buying t-shirts, for all the ways that you guys help the channel be the channel. I will catch you guys later in the week. Until I do, go out to something amazing in your lives. Keep working on it, people. Be nice to each other, please. I'll see you then.